we're going to talk about controllers today. So if you're like me, you're getting bombarded with ads for controllers, influencers trying to sell you every type of controller imaginable, different brands out there. It can be pretty overwhelming. So I figured with my extensive controller collection, I can recommend a few really solid brands in the $30 to $80 price point. You don't want to go above 80 unless you're in that esports competitive range. You really don't want to go below 30 because then we start getting into build quality issues and there's no guarantee that they're going to be working after a couple months of regular use. Now, quick introduction, I am Cha-Cha Retro. I like all things old school. I like modern gaming. I like tech. I do all sorts of fun stuff. I am trying to grow my YouTube channel and do more long-form content. I've primarily done short-form content. I've done pretty well on TikTok, okay on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, but I think it's time for me to expand into more long-form videos. So if you could take a moment and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. Also, another note, I have links below for these controller brands. Some of those links will score you a discount, so check them out. Now, first on our list is 8BitDo. 8BitDo has a huge lineup of controllers. They are big in the retro space. They have a lot of Super Nintendo inspired controllers, old school PlayStation inspired controllers, but they also do modern controllers like this. This is the ultimate wireless Bluetooth controller. This one retails for about $59.99. There's a cheaper version which retails for $49.99 and a wired version which is even cheaper than that. Now, the thing I recommend about 8BitDo is they just have great quality control. I've never picked up one of their products and had an issue with it. These are pretty simple controllers. They're no muss, no fuss controllers, as I would say. They're pretty easy to pick up. You don't have to worry about a ton of customization or settings. They have macro buttons on the back, which are cool for, more competitive style games. But other than that, there's not much to them, but they are reliable. And if you get it with the charging stand, which most versions do come with that, it's just a nice simple touch. You can plug it into your computer with a USB-C cable, and then you don't even need to take out the USB stick down here. Also, one other thing 8BitDo offers that I haven't seen from any other controller companies is the ability to mod old school controllers with updated Bluetooth boards so that these can work on PC, Switch, and with the right Bluetooth adapter, you can even get them working on the original consoles themselves. So this one's a Super Famicom. We've got a Nintendo, we've got Nintendo 64, we've got Sega Saturn. I've got a GameCube one around here somewhere. Here it is, GameCube. It's really, really cool. It's a great way to take broken controllers and breathe new life into them and keep that original OEM feel, but be able to sit on your couch and play wirelessly. It's amazing. Now let's pivot and talk about the Switch, because there's a brand out there that is focused on Joy-Con replacements that I think you should pay attention to. Now, I do not like Joy-Con controllers. They're very small. They're prone to stick drift. Never been a big fan of them. But a company out there by the name of NYXI has been making incredible Joy-Con replacements. Let me show you one they recently sent me called the Hyperion 2. This is a premium Joy-Con retailing for $79.99. Now for $79.99, I want a premium product. And one thing I'm expecting out of my Joy-Con replacements is it has to be comfortable to hold. It has to feel good in my big old adult hands. And with a textured grip back here and a nice comfortable design, I can say that it meets that requirement. We also have macro buttons on the back here for added customization. Nice touch with the LEDs, but if you're not a fan of the LEDs, you can cycle them off. The most important thing I need out of a Joy-Con replacement is Hall effect joysticks. The Switch has been plagued with stick drift since its inception. Hall effect sticks are not going to get stick drift. In addition to that, nice tactile buttons, everything you could really want out of a premium Joy-Con. Highly recommended. The next NYXI product is for GameCube fans. It is the NYXI Wizard. Yes, you have GameCube-inspired Joy-Cons that you can put on your Switch. This is perfect for those GameCube games that have been ported to the Switch, like Super Mario Sunshine, and they're also just capable Joy-Cons for any other Switch game. The button placement can be a little strange because it's not quite in line with the ABXY setup. It's a little bit off, but for the most part, I have no problem playing games like Super Mario Odyssey or Mario Kart with these, and they just feel good in your hands with the grips here. So again, another product that I highly recommend. I believe these retail for about $69.99. Last on the NYXI list that I've personally tested is the Master P1 controller. This is another kind of no muss, no fuss controller like those 8BitDo controllers I showed you earlier. It's a nice simple controller retailing at $49.99. It's compatible with the Nintendo Switch, PC, Android, iOS. It has Bluetooth and a USB connection if you so choose to use that. One feature I really like about this controller is on the back here are these switches. If they are down, They're analog triggers, which is great for PC games. And if they're up, they turn more into Switch Pro controller style triggers, which I really like that touch. I haven't seen a ton of controllers do that. I've only seen one other in my collection that does it. So it's a very nice feature. Again, $49.99. It's a solid controller, solid brand. I would recommend it just because of the flexibility and how many different systems this thing can connect to. Let's pivot and talk about retro controllers now. I'm gonna leave my camera down a little bit just to show you my retro console collection. It's pretty extensive. I love having OG consoles, OG hardware to play on. I don't love old controllers. I don't love wired controllers. I don't like having a wire stretch across the couch. I don't like having to store them. I want wireless. I want things modernized, and there's a brand out there that is absolutely crushing it in this space. Retrofighters. I have a whole bunch of these controllers for various systems. We have GameCube controllers, we have original Xbox controllers, we have PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, and I have a Nintendo 64 one down there somewhere. And beyond the ones I just mentioned, they actually have a lot more that I just haven't got my hands on yet. But first, let's take a look at this one. This is the Defender, a PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 controller. There is a version of the Defender that works for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 that's Bluetooth. This one requires either a PlayStation dongle or a USB stick to work. Because it's a USB stick, it'll also work on PC, which is pretty cool. It's a cool, reliable controller. I actually like to use it for PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. The only reason I'm not a big fan of it for PlayStation 3 is because it doesn't have that 6-axis motion sensing that some of the PlayStation 3 games require. I should note that the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 version of the Defender does apparently have that feature. For the GameCube, we have the Battler and the Blade controller. Other than the color, there's a distinct difference between these two models. I'll give you a second to figure it out. Here's a hint. Look at the joysticks. The joystick setup on this one is more like a GameCube controller, more like an Xbox design. The joystick setup on this one is more like a PlayStation design. These are very cool modern interpretations of the GameCube controller, completely wireless, that comes with a dongle for the GameCube, also comes with a USB stick that you can plug into a PC or the Switch. Great controllers, great quality. I really enjoy these. Next, you either love or you hate the Nintendo 64 controller feel. I fall into the hate it category. I'm sorry, you can flame me in the comments. But this next controller is perfect for me. It is the Brawler 64. There is a wired version of this controller, a wireless version of this controller that only works with the Nintendo 64, and there's a version that also works with the Switch called the Brawler NSL. This is a perfect redesign of the Nintendo 64 controller for me. I love being able to hold it like a modern controller. It doesn't feel awkward. It stores really well. So if you're not a fan of the Nintendo 64 controller design, but you love some N64 games, check out the Brawler 64. Last on the list is actually a favorite of mine. This is the Hunter from Retrofighters. It's an OG Xbox controller, original Xbox. Now, the original Xbox does not get a lot of aftermarket love, so it's really cool that Retrofighters has a controller specifically for the original Xbox. It comes with a dongle for the Xbox, also comes with a USB stick as well. And one thing I really like about this design is it came with shoulder buttons and a trigger button, meaning that this can be a very capable controller for PC gaming and for Switch gaming. So highly recommend. This is probably my favorite of the Retrofighters controllers so far. I intend to get more. They have a ton of variety. I haven't even scratched the surface of all their offerings. Some of their controllers range as low as $20 for some of the wired options, all the way up to $60 for some of the more pro options. I've not picked up a product from them yet that I don't like, so they come highly recommended for me. Next, I mentioned I have a TikTok that does fairly well, and sometimes I get free controllers sent to me by various companies that I'd never heard of before. These two controllers really surprised me. First up is from a company called Binbok. They sent me their Ultra Pro controller, and I have to say, out of the box, I was immediately impressed with this thing. First of all, it has everything you would want out of a more premium controller. This version retails for $59.99. It has Hall Effect joysticks. There is a non-Hall Effect version that retails for $46.99. But I say spend the extra, $14 or so and get the Hall Effect joysticks to make sure that you're never going to have stick drift as an issue. But the thing that blew my mind about this controller, other than the insane customization for the LEDs that you can all do directly from the controller, is The functionality on the back here, all of the different customizations that you can do, I haven't even fully dived into what all of this means. There's also extra macro buttons on the top, which I have not seen out of a controller in this budget range. We have our macro buttons back here. It's also extremely comfortable to hold. I love the rubber grips. I love the weight of this thing. I was endlessly impressed by this controller. It works for Switch, PC, it connects via Bluetooth, and connects via USB as well. So highly recommended. It is a very good price for this controller for everything you get. Last on this list is the Beitong KP40. This is the newest controller in my collection. I only got it a couple of days ago and I was immediately impressed with this, especially after having a long gaming session with it last night. Here it is. First of all, this is a more premium price controller at $79.99. Yes, you're going to pay about $80 for this controller, but what I can say is that it's worth it for these joysticks alone. When I say that these are the smoothest, most comfortable joysticks I've ever experienced in a controller, I'm not lying to you. So these utilize what's called TMR technology, which is an evolution of Hall effect. So Hall effect is kind of becoming the standard in a lot of controllers, especially third-party, more premium options. These take it a step further with TMR technology, which allows for even more precision. So if you're a competitive gamer, the TMR technology is something to look out for. These are adjustable down to the game genre if you pair this up with the software that Beitong has. Another really cool underrated feature is the ability to adjust the resistance on these joysticks by turning this dial here. So turn it to the left, there's less resistance. Turn it to the right, there's more resistance. I like it turned all the way to the right just because it feels better. I just listen to that. Listen to how satisfying that is. Love this controller. So tactile buttons, this is an 8-directional D-pad, tactile buttons here, a couple customization options up here. Let's look at the back here because like with that NYXI controller earlier, if you hook this up to your Switch, you have the ability to make this more like a Switch Pro controller, which is awesome. Bring them down, more like a classic gaming controller here. Macro buttons down here, and there's a charging dock sold separately. I think it was like $12.99, not super expensive. I can live without it, but if you like a charging dock, one is available for this. It's capable of connecting via Bluetooth, connects to the Switch, also USB, as you would expect. It is, like I said, a more premium controller, and after playing with it for an extended period last night, I get it. This is probably one of the better feeling controllers I've held in my hands. Again, company is Beitong. They have cheaper versions of this controller called the KP20. They have controllers in the $30 price range. They also have like super premium controllers out there in the $120 price range. So seems like a good brand with a lot of different options for any budget. Think of this last one on the list as an Easter egg of sorts. It's a quality controller that you can potentially get your hands on for pretty cheap if you get lucky. The Google Stadia. So Stadia was a failed game streaming device, game console, whatever the heck Google was calling it back in the day, that came with this controller, this PlayStation style controller. This is a really good feeling controller, and so many Stadias went unsold that you can score one of these practically brand new. I got this one for, I believe, $20 with the Google Stadia device, which is really just a Chromecast. And I have to say, I use this sometimes on PC gaming, and it is a solid controller. So if you're looking for a decent controller and you happen to stumble across one of these at a good price point, I say jump on it just for the controller alone. You also get a Chromecast in the box if you can score one unopened, and Chromecasts are pretty useful still to this day. So for this last one, I highly recommend not buying it because it's not a very good controller, but this is the Ouya. I just wanted to show it. It felt like an appropriate video to show this guy off. So it is a Bluetooth controller that was released for an Android game console that came out in 2015. They were trying to be a budget console for $99. They failed miserably. They were most famous for a Kickstarter and a lot of lofty promises that never materialized. But I got a hold of an Ouya and one of these controllers. It is just a terrible controller. It is Bluetooth, but these faceplates here come off, and you put a AA battery in each controller arm, which is really strange, but because these faceplates pop off and they're just not the highest quality, oftentimes in the middle of playing, these buttons will get trapped under here. So I actually set this up and did, I think, an RE4 playthrough with it a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, and it really is just not a good controller for everyday use, but a nice little piece in my collection, I guess, that I can talk about and explain. So, NYXI Controller, not recommended for any modern gaming. Pretty cool talking point though. So like I said, I'll put the links for these different brands below. Check them out. Some of the links will score you a discount. Every one of those brands, except for the NYXI one to come, highly recommended for me. I have played with them all extensively, and I wouldn't be putting them on my video if I didn't really, really like them. Hopefully this guide helps you. Again, subscribe to my video. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel. I want to see what more long-form content I can do. Let me know what you would like to see out of a channel like this in the comments.